Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So, I am continuing filming my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rankings, and today I'm going to rank the final battles. So, what I'm going to do is that it's going to be how the choreography is, and how the story builds up to the final battle, and also the visuals, and also how how they film the fight scene, so we can see it properly. So, and also because we also need to understand what's going on, what's happening. So let's go. Coming in at number 10 for me, Turtles vs. Krang in Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think that there's some cool things that is in this fight, but I think that overall it's very cluttered, because like there's even bits where it's like you don't even know what's going on. It's like it's almost like goes a bit too fantastical for Turtles, if you know what I mean, because all the rest of these fights, even though that some of them are in a fantastical kind of setting, or the way that the story that they're trying to tell within the movie itself is fantastical, they kind of feel in a way that's grounded. But Rise of the TMNT goes like off the wall. You don't know what the hell's going on. You think that it's just there just to be there. There's no really, like, there's build up to it, but then it comes to a point where it's just like, yeah, let's just make them just fly through time and kind of beat up the Krang and that sort of stuff. And it's really, really poor. It's, like, don't get me wrong, it's cool to see, and all of the stuff happening with the four Turtles and the special brotherhood of that, and that whole bit, like you see in the trailer where they say what they are when they grow. It's like, we are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That moment's really cool. But there are bits that you're just kind of like, what the hell is going on? It's just like, you're going too fantastical with these battles. It's like, you don't necessarily know what the hell's happening with this battle. And it's just like, okay, I like how you're trying something new with the final battle, but you're looking too fantastical. Now, there's ones that I have higher on the list that are more fantastical, but they've grounded it more. And it actually makes sense in the story, but this one's just like, nah, let's just go off the wall bonkers. So, that's why I have the Turtles versus the Krang in Rise of the TMNT movie in number 10. Now, number 9 for me is the 2003 Turtles, the 1987 Turtles, and Turtles Prime Turtles versus Shredder in Turtles Forever. Now, not only do you just have, like, what? The 12 Turtles, you also have Splinter, you also have Karai, you have Classic Shredder, you have Krang, and even Bebop and Rocksteady kind of get their moment to shine in this battle. But even though that's cool, the whole thing is cool of the stakes have been risen, and if Shredder kills the Prime Turtles universe, that's where the Turtles kind of will, like, no Turtles universe will exist. Even though that is a very much a thing that you're just like, you're on the edge of the seat going like, oh, come on, like, win. It's one of those things where you just can't look at it and you're like, but like, literally the first bit to start the final battle is literally them walking around Shredder, like, in circles, just going like, you will destroy us all type thing. Like, you don't want to destroy the whole universe type thing. And it's just like, even though that's cool seeing that, Like, every fight battle from here on up is awesome, but it's a very quick final battle. It's like you have the whole thing of the Turtle Prime Turtles jumping towards Shredder and that sort of stuff, and then eventually he unplugs. Well, no. They come up with the idea of putting him in the beam of the Technodrome, but then Bebop and Rocksteady get free and they trip over the plug, and Shredder's like, whoa, it didn't work. And then Bebop and Rocksteady plug back in, and then he dies. That's like, you kind of expect a little bit more out of that final battle, even though you do look at that and go like, well, what else could have the Turtles really have done? Because, like, yeah, even though that there's 12 of the Turtles and there's one Shredder, and then also on the Turtle side you have Karai, 1987 Shredder, 1987 Krang, and 2003 Splinter. You look at that and go like, even though there's a lot of them versus one Shredder is ginormous. He's like a Transformer, like BFG kind of size. It's just like, there's no way that they could defeat him. So it's just like, you can kind of go like, what else could you do? But it's just like, you kind of wish that there was more. That's why I have in 9th place the Toss Forever Final Battle. Now, number 8, Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze Final Battle. Now, originally, I had this in last place because I was just thinking about the Super Shredder bit, because I love the Super Shredder scene, and I think it's really cool, but you don't really get to see the Turtles fight Super Shredder. It's just like, he's in, and then Leonardo goes up to him and does the whole, Shredder! You destroyed us for no reason! You're gonna destroy us all! And then Shredder picks him up and is like, strong bitch! And throws him back. But I just remembered that the whole club scene, which is one of the best fight scenes in the Ninja Turtles movie, is part of that finale too. Because, like, I consider that after Raph gets chucked through the wall, and then you see the whole thing of Vanilla and stuff doing the ninja rap and stuff, that is the finale of the movie. And then the Super Shredder bit is a little bit of an extra thing, because Super Shredder, yes, you can count it as a finale. It's not really much a finale because of the way that they do that battle, because it's not really a battle. It's mainly just like, oh, he drank the ooze, and then they jump in water to save themselves. But mainly I put it this high because of the Vanilla Ice scene, because the Vanilla Ice scene is one of the greatest, like, bits in that movie. Like, I love the ninja rap. I think it's so cool, and seeing them doing the ninja rap as they body kick butt is so cool, and then having basically Donatello and Leonardo and the rest of the Turtles and John Perry extract the CO2 or whatever from with the fire extinguishers into Togo and Rosa, and that's where you get the weird burping humor. But it's like, that's just so funny. That's just like, that is the level that this movie goes to, and I love how TMNT 2 commits to being the cartoon, even though that's not one of the top ones. I think that everything else is leaps better than Rise. Rise is the only one that I don't really like out of the Turtles movies, because I think that goes in the opposite direction of what I like about the Turtles type thing. But I love the final battle in Ninja Turtles 2 The Secret of the Ooze. Now, number 7 for me is the final battle from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. This is mainly because that you get the whole thing of them getting their weapons back in this movie, and it's like, yes, they've got their weapons back type thing. And you just like, and you watch it, it's just like, you have a lot of quotable lines in it, like, hey, ooh, dings the shell must pay type thing. Like, Robbie Wrist is awesome. I love Robbie, he's so good. And then you also have the whole thing of Leonardo sword fighting Lord Norinaga, and then it comes to a bit where he chops his hair off, and then then Leonardo grabs his swords and cuts the rope, and the bell falls down, and it's like, Donnie's like, whoa, who was in there? And then Leo's like, Lord Noranaga. And then Donnie grabs the bow staff and swings it around and knocks it. And it's like, ah! It's like, whoa. I think that is so funny. I think that there's a lot of, like, even though that much like Secret of the Years, the actual bit where it's like you would expect there to be a big fight, like Walker versus the Turtles, that bit is pretty much pointless. But the fight from them with Mitsu in the Japanese huts and stuff is really cool. And then them fighting on the ground is also really, really good. It's like, that's why it's above the Super Shredder fight, is because I think that they experiment more with the battles and the fight scenes and stuff in this movie than in the first two movies. But I still love the other movies' final battles. Like, there's ones above this. We're only at number 7, but, I mean, yeah, sorry, number 7. But I love this final battle. I think it's such a good way to switch up the final battle from the previous two movies. Now, number 6 for me is the Turtles versus the Stone Generals from TMNT 2007. Now, even though that I like how they switched it up with the villains for this movie, I don't, like, there's a bunch more villains that you could have done. But also, if they didn't have the Stone Generals, you wouldn't have an awesome fight at the end. Like, you have them versing the Foot Clan, going into wherever they are, like the building with the bloody Ghostbusters portal on top and stuff, and then when they eventually get Leo, they actually verse the Stone Generals and beat them, as they get them back into the, I don't know, like, it's basically like the Collider. Like the Collider from Spider-Verse. But the wormhole, I guess, portal thing. And they knock them all into there, and it's so cool, and you get, like, the whole thing of Leonardo standing up with multiple swords. Even though that there's a setup there, but there's not really a payoff in him using the swords and stuff. But the visual of it is really cool, and the whole thing of, like, sort of like, they won't lose because they're a team. That is so cool. I love the final battle in this movie. I think that it's one of those things where you have the Stone Generals, like, they can be weak villains, but I think that there are lots of potential with the fight choreography in the 2007 movie, and I love that for that. So number 5 for me is the final battle of Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And yes, the final battle where they're fighting Batman as a bat, because Shredder and Harley as the Cobra Snake and the dog or wolf or whatever have mutated Batman into like a life-size bat. And also the whole thing of them having the machine go up in the air, and then Donnie and Mikey ascend with that, and then Shredder and Batman are fighting, which is a awesome fight. If there was a fight that you want me to go like, Jack, what's a fight that you wouldn't expect that you would see, but it would be good? I'll be like, Shredder versus Batman. That's such a good fight, and I love that fight. But I never expected that in a movie, let alone that, even though I read the comic of Batman vs. TMNT before I saw that movie, I saw it and I was like, wow, they really did it. And having, Shredder go up to him and go like, any last words, Batman? And then Batman's like, Cowabunga. I lost it. I was like, yes! Hell yeah! I love that. And I love how they did. I think that, and the fact that Mikey was the one that brought the machine and not Donnie because of his smarts, and Mikey's just bloody pounding his fist into the machine and destroying it, and they land on the blimp, was so cool. I love that fight scene. I think that, looking back at, when you are not watching it, you would think, oh, that's kind of one of the weaker ones. But when you watch it, you're like, whoa, this is actually a really, really cool fight scene that no one talks about at all. And I love how they do that in that final battle. So I love that. Now, number 4 for me, I had this in my top 4 because it's such a classic fight scene. And it's what you want out of a Ninja Turtles movie, and that's the Turtles versus the Foot Clan Shredder in TMNT 1990. I love that fight scene, like, seeing the choreography in it, and basically having dudes in suits do that choreography, like spinning the chucks and the bow stuff and that sort of stuff, and even the bit where Leo and Raph do that rolling move where they curve up in the ball, and then Raph flips over Leo, and then Blade kicks Diz in the face, and there's a lot of bits, and even that group shot of all the Turtles and the foot soldiers and stuff like that. That was so cool. I love that final battle in particular. I love all the TMNT movies, except for maybe Rise. But I think that there's a lot of things in the first TMNT movie that hold up and make it still a really, really good and fun movie. And the fight scenes especially hold up because it's all practical, and you could see them make it, if, like, for the movies that come out practical today, you could still see that movie as one of those movies. And I love that for it. And I think that you get so much things with, like, where they're attacking one at a time to go up against Shredder and stuff. And then Splinter comes down, and he's like, I know who you are, Oroku Saki. And flips him off the roof, and then eventually Shredder lands in the garbage truck, and then he lands in the garbage truck, and then Casey's like, oops! And then crushes Shredder. It's, goosebumps. I love it. It's so good. And that is why I put the TMNT 1995 battle at number 4. Number 3 is the Turtles versus the Shredder in TMNT 2014. I think that this is one of those ones that you could go like, this is one of the weaker ones, but to me, it's so cool. Like, because Shredder is this big, because the Turtles are these big, huge monsters, and Shredder, they need to make Shredder like a Transformer type thing. I actually like the retractable knives where he throws them and he blade catches them back because they have like magnets in his armor and that sort of stuff. And Leo, Mikey, and Raph are protecting Donnie as he's trying to disable the gas, and they're using their weapons to basically get rid of the knives and stuff, and Shredder's retracting them and throwing them again. I love that, and I think that the whole thing where Shredder's basically knocked all of them down, and then Leo goes out first, and then or maybe Raph does. I think Raph maybe goes out first, or Leo. I think it's Leo. But he basically goes down and then hangs on to Donnie, and then Raph hangs on to Donnie, and then they do that whole thing of the swing back and forth, and then Leo and Donnie go back onto the roof and fight Shredder together. That's so cool, and the way that they use Buck from earlier on in the movie from the flashback scenes, I like how that comes full circle and they actually work together as a team, even though that they do work together as a team in pretty much all the other movies. But there's a way about that 2014 movie that makes it go like, they're actually working together as a team. The way that you expected the Turtles to. And the whole thing of Raph going like, no, we do what Leo says. Lead the way. Oh my god, I love those movies. They're so good. Now, number 2 for me is, I didn't expect you to put this high, to be honest. That is the Mutants versus Mega Superfly in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. This final battle does something that we don't really see in a lot of the Ninja Turtles movies. And that's the Turtles teaming up with the mutants like Leatherhead and Mondo Gecko, Bebop and Rocksteady, and Ray Fillet and that sort of stuff. I think that is a cool way to do it, and such an inventful way. And I think that there's things about like the whole character arc of April and how she stops, like, not to spoil it, but how she stops doing something in particular when a camera goes on. Like, she does it once, but then she kind of is able to continue type thing. I thought that was a cool character arc for her. And the fight choreography is really cool, and the fact that they need to jam the ooze or whatever into Superfly's eye, but the Turtles need to fight Superfly as they try and put the ooze back in there, and having the people, very Spider-Man style, team up with the Turtles and hand the ooze back to them, and the Turtles fly through buildings and like go over, like run up Superfly's arm and that sort of stuff. And that sort of stuff is so cool and so inventive for a Ninja Turtles like final battle. I'm just like, that is something that you wouldn't see in the series or any movie. So that is very inventive for a Ninja Turtles final battle type thing, you know. Coming in at number 1 is Ninja Turtles versus Krang in Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. This is such a great fight scene, because the reason why I put this on top more so than Mutant Mayhem is because this is what you think of when you think of a Ninja Turtle fight scene from a cartoon. Because this movie goes full 1987 cartoon. I think that there's some cool things in here. The visuals of having the Turtles fight Krang in the Technodrome as it's assembling piece by piece, and having that whole motion of the pieces of the Technodrome flying around flying inside and outside the Technodrome as the Turtles like travel to the Technodrome on them, and also like the whole thing where they destroy Krang's arm, so he's like, oh, you don't think I have spares for this? And pulls out like the ball and chain and swings it around stuff. Dudes, he is literally rearming. I think that's so cool. I think the Turtles bit is more of an epic Ninja Turtles fight, but I do like the fight that happens beside that, the fights that happen beside that with Casey versing Bebop and Rocksteady, because throughout the whole movie, he wants to bring Bebop and Rocksteady to justice, and he gets to do that in the final battle. Well, technically, but he gets to fight them. So you get that whole arc of like, I want to find these guys, to him fighting and trapping them, and then eventually blowing them up, even though they don't really blow up. And also then you have the whole thing of April and Vern versing that 1 foot soldier, and Vern goes down, even though that they're on top of a shipping container. And the way that Vern jumps down and takes that foot soldier out is so funny. And April's like... And then you have the whole thing of April and Vern versing Karai. And Karai has the sword, and you're like, oh god, do not kill April and do not kill Vern. And that sort of stuff. But even though that end bit is a little lame, because April grabs like a suitcase or something and throws at Karai and she's knocked out. Even though that's like, what? That's the only bit that it's just like, what the hell? But I'm forgiving of that, because you have basically 3 battles going on. You have the Vern and April fight investigation type thing. Then you have the Casey, Bebop and Rocksteady fight. Then you have the Krang and Turtles fight. That's like the main center. But you go back to the Turtles more because it's the Turtles movie as opposed to the first movie that it's April's movie with the Turtles doing the fights and that sort of stuff. But I think that's why I prefer the Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows fight scene with Turtles, Casey, and April and Vern and Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady more than any other Ninja Turtles fight ever. So guys, please hit the like button down below if you haven't already. Subscribe, also hit the little bell icon to get notified future videos that I make. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.